Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our 21-day virtual summit is all about how to create your own online prosperous beautiful business on any platform you actually choose. There are many ways we get to do this, and today we get to speak with an expert who is phenomenal. She's doing it all. She's out there. You probably heard of her. Her name is Rosalyn Funk, and she is. I'm just so grateful to have her in my life, and I'm so grateful I get to introduce her to you guys, because what you're gonna learn today is going to help through a lot of fears that many people have when they first take their offline business online, or if they never had a business, they're coming from the corporate background, they come with certain fears and limitations. So Rosalind will take care of it for you today. And Rosalind Funk is an intuitive mindset and visionary business coach specializing in client attraction and soulful sales. That's extremely important when you're starting your own business. Would you say? Like, you want to have those clients coming in and you want it to be the right clients. She is an international speaker and best-selling author, mastermind and workshop facilitator on topics of self-love, mastering your energy, money mindset, and attraction marketing through speaking and leveraging social media. Roslyn is a host and catalyst of her own podcast. It's a new podcast, and it's called Activate Your Soulgasmic Business. She is a co-author of international best-selling book called What's Self-Love Got to Do with It? And she's been featured, yeah, there it is. She's been featured in Huffington Post, CBC Radio. She's spoken for Fearless Women Summit, and she is a former psychologist for 10 years. So I want to give it to you, Rosalind. The stage is now yours. Tell us about that. Tell us about your background. Tell us what changed and what made you shift and become this wonderful, internationally known and published person that you are today.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to provide value for your audience here. And I'll start with the personal journey, because that's really where it starts from. And I really do believe, and this is what I talk about, is our purpose comes from our pain, that thing that you never want to have happen to you or anyone else again. So if we take ourselves back to 2008, picture this. I'm on stage, naked. Okay, I'm wearing a bikini, tanned, oiled up, hair done, makeup on, and I'm posing and flexing. So if you can guess, I'm in a figure bodybuilding competition. So more muscle than a bikini model, less than a traditional bodybuilder. And here I am standing on stage with my perfect fitness model physique, wearing this smile to hide the pain. My life looks completely perfect on the outside. Perfect body, just started my new private practice as a new psychologist. I was and still am happily married to my husband at that point in time over 3 years. And I was a second degree black belt in karate and a role model to kids, teens, and adults. So I was absolutely confident in everything that I did. And I will define what confidence and self-love is later, okay, because they're not the same. Most people think they are. So I'm confident, meaning I believe in my own abilities to do things and do them really well. But behind closed doors was a totally different story. So that megawatt smile I had was hiding the pain of me being in this cycle of food restriction, then binge eating, then beating myself up, feeling guilty, and then purging by over exercising. And this went on for years. And I thought that I couldn't really understand, because It was like, well, I have everything. Like I've arrived, I've achieved everything that I had wanted to achieve at this point in time. And it was about 26 years old. And so I was feeling nothing except for anxiety and constantly focused on what to eat, when to eat, where to, like how many calories, if I binge, how much do I need to work out to make up for that extra calories? And I knew that somewhere deep inside there was something greater because I felt so empty. You know, and I'm going to speak to the audience. Have you ever felt like you've arrived, you've accomplished everything, you went to school, and then you're in this environment and you're like, why do I feel so empty? And so on that day on stage, I came in last place. And that confirmed my belief that I am not enough. So naturally, I had a breakdown. And that led me to learn as a therapist about this approach called Haikomi. And Haikomi means, how do I stand in a relationship with myself? And how do I stand in a relationship with others? Because we're always in those relationships. And it's a mindfulness based approach that combines neuroscience, psychology, and this thing called spirituality. So at that point in time, because I was learning about this, you cannot not work on yourself when you're learning and practicing this method that we're going through. And that breakdown turned into a breakthrough. I learned that unconsciously I was operating from this belief that I am valued in my doingness, my performance, my achievements, my status, my success. And that's part of my Asian culture. But I also think that society also puts a lot of our value in our doingness and our performances. And I was valuing my doingness rather than my beingness, who I am. And my doingness never felt enough. So no wonder I was this overachiever, hardcore type A personality. And I was just like a super hardcore perfectionist. And so in this work, I learned the art of slowing down. I learned to embrace myself and come home to myself, embrace perfectly imperfects. And Haikomi changed my life so much that I got certified in it. I also got certified in psychology, and then I became the go-to psychologist working with individuals and groups of women, and as well as men, specializing in food, body image, and self-love. And through this, I'm the type of person that gets really inspired by other people's transformations, particularly with my own clients. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Like, what else can I do? And not from a place of not enough now. This is from a place of I'm fueled in this purpose. And my purpose really was driven about helping people break that societal beliefs around body image and self-worth at that point in time. And so fast forward 2014, I became the first psychologist in my province. I'm here in Alberta, Canada, to create an online program, which those of you who are in the clinical profession know that's like hashtag lots of red tape. And I found a way to do it while staying ethical, because I knew it was figure outable. I knew because there were other psychologists like, we're doing it, just not here. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna make it happen. And that opened doors to my first international speaking gig, magazine cover for a fitness women's community. And it was incredible. Like that magazine. I posed in my post baby mama body, softer but still fit looking. I on purpose wore very little clothing, so booty shorts, sports bra, and I celebrated my body, especially the part of my body that I hated the most of my life, which was my stomach. And it's incredible to be on a magazine cover, right? And I also got to write a 4-page article on how to flex your self-love muscle. But what's really incredible was the impacts. Women started writing me and saying, you know, I hate my body. And then I saw your body and I read your article and I started to question, because I think my body looks like yours and you look beautiful. And I started to question about my own beliefs about my my body and my worth, and how can I work with you? And these are women from different parts of the world. So I couldn't actually, being a licensed therapist, work with them. And so I felt something really stir. And I'm like, wow, like there must be more that I could be. And that felt like, you know, when higher power, spirit, God, source, divine is pouring in. At this point, I'm quite spiritual. I continue to do my inner work to this day. And I just knew there was something greater. So then that's when at that point, I had manifested in a personal development course I was taking myself, probably the same one we were taking, different parts of the world. I went in to work on my money mindset, and I manifested energetically, because we're blindfolded when we're choosing our buddies, our accountability buddies, 7-figure award-winning business coach. And you can't make that shit up. Yep. Right? Like, that's incredible. I was like, oh my God. So of course she was there to work on her own stuff. And we became very close and very intimate. And during these courses, right? Like, you cannot not. You're so deeply vulnerable. And I ended up hiring her. So I started a self-love coaching business. And this would have been 4 years ago. And so because I speak and sell on stage, and that's something I do help with my clients. What happened was I started to attract a lot of women entrepreneurs who saw my confidence, and now self-worth. Self-worth is self-love, your belief in yourself, and your value of yourself. And they were like, can you help me get out of my own way, show up like you do, and create like that business? I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. I could totally do that. I would love to. And so I started to shift into becoming an intuitive mindset and visionary business coach for other spiritual and heart-driven coaches, healers, therapists, practitioners, and light workers. So that's my story.
A couple of things that I heard you say were, it took a breakdown for the breakthrough to appear.
Mm-hmm.
You are very connected to your feelings throughout that journey, and you paid attention to who the universe sent you.
Yes.
Who are the people around you, what was opening up, what the opportunities were that were presenting themselves for you. Many times people are shut down to this. How do we open up that channel? How do we create that soulful connection with the universe and what it wants to give us? Because we all have it inside of us, we all have that greatness, but many times it's just shut down. What advice would you give to people?
Wow, that's a beautiful question. So I want to tune in. It's like really tuning into what is it that I deeply desire. So getting really still, getting really quiet, and perhaps it's a meditation, perhaps it's just being, if you don't meditate, whatever that looks like, to lean into stillness. Because when we're in stillness, we're most important relationship, I will say, besides the one with faith, is being in relationship with yourself, because you're always with yourself and you're watching your thoughts. So like having that third eye or that observer hat and just witnessing your thoughts without judgment, and just witnessing and noticing what runs your mind, and then getting really quiet and asking yourself, that you can place your hand on your heart. We run on 3 different engines: our head, our heart, and our gut. So I'm pointing to my belly here. And they say the gut is the second brain, and it's backed by science, actually, that has as many neurons in there as here. So it's like, here we go. What is it that I deeply desire? What do I see for myself a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, right? And so when I didn't share this part of my story, but I'll share it right now, is when I had started my self-love coaching business, it grew quickly. And it's a very different energy and entity than how I practice as a psychologist. I realized that I got to a point where, because I was still practicing as a psychologist as I was building my business part-time, and this really started to take off, my coaching business. And at some point, I really felt that conflict, because I could feel the sense of freedom being a coach. I could feel like, for me, I want to make huge impacts. That is like my soul is called to impact thousands and millions. And I felt that, and I still feel that today. And so for me, as much as I loved being a therapist, I recognize that it was actually holding me back.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have to work through the fears. So I know that a lot of the audience members are moving from a 9 to 5 and wanting to grow their business. And so I imagine as I share some of these struggles I had to walk myself through, you may resonate with it. So I was making really good money, 6 figures, as a therapist, working part time, and so I was also making good money here, but it was like starting all over again, right? And so my inner critic would say things like, "Well, Roz, you have a young family. I have 2 young boys, and you're partially responsible for your family financially. You're making good money. You're making great impacts. Like, you're kind of crazy to start all over again. Is this even making sense? Is this even responsible?" And then the other thing that I would hear is, "Well, who is, like, you're really going to demote yourself, like, from a therapist, a psychologist you've worked so hard on, you went to all these, you have like years of schooling, years of practicum, and yet you're going to give all that up to be just a coach?" And so I was like, I know the ego was really big. But also then it was say things like, are you who the heck is going to come and pay you if you're not covered under benefits anymore? Okay, that was get back in my place. Even then, even though the proof was there, I was charging more as a coach. I was able to bring more to the table as a coach, because I could share all of my gifts as a coach, whereas more restrictive as a psychologist. And so I had to really sit back and feel into all this. The biggest one that I struggled with the most was, are you willing to risk disapproval, especially from your Asian parents? And so, man, in my culture, it's very much based on performance and status. And so would I be willing to disappoint my parents? You know, they would never get this. Why would I do this? And so when I really tapped in, coming back to your question, Lenka, when I really tapped in, I knew that I had to bet on myself. If there's anyone to bet on, we gotta bet on ourselves when we're so tapped into our purpose, when we're so fueled in our soul, when we have that, we might not like cognitively know, like we can't really reason, but we have this huge feeling. You gotta listen to those nudges, because your intuition never lies. It's never wrong. And so I bet on myself. I set a date to retire as a psychologist, which was, all of this was the scariest part of my career. It was so freaking scary. With the help and support of my peers, my coaching peers, my coach, I'm continuing to be coached. I really believe that I'm a better leader because I have coaches. That it was because of all of the support that I could work through my inner critic and my thoughts and just be in this next level version of myself. So I'm telling you guys, 4 years, I was able to make 6 figures part-time in my first year of business as a coach. And 4 years later, like really literally 4 years later, I'm standing in what I thought would be a fantasy. And that was, I can even say, if I would say I had said this 3 years, at 3 years, I was saying this. I have the time freedom, I have the location freedom, I have the impacts, and I continue to, because there's always that next level version. I've outgrew my business model, which is a good problem to have. And so this year I'm scaling to that next level. But I've organically built my business to 30K months.
Beautiful. You answered so many of my questions. There was a question I wanted to ask, whether it was a sudden transition, like you quit your job, you started business, or was it like slowly, organically transitioning, which you just explained to us. And then I was going to ask, do you still get coaching from someone else? Because most of us coaches do. Even like the top coaches and top mentors who mentor other mentors and coaches, they still have their own masterminds and they still, you know, work together. Everybody's working on themselves all the time. And that's kind of point of this show. We people, audience will resonate with different coaches throughout the show. Find someone that speaks to you, someone who resonates with you, someone who really got your attention, and connect with that speaker or two speakers or five speakers or all 21 speakers, and find your answers, get your coaching, and start doing. This is fantastic. And I know, Raz, that you brought us a beautiful gift today. What is that gift?
Yes. So those of you who are feeling aligned, I bring in mindset. So I still bring in my psychologist background. That does not leave me in terms of a foundation. A foundation's personal, and the success of your business is goes as far as your psychology, right? So mindset plus soul plus strategy, right? All of these are combined. In my freebie is my client attraction checklist. So this is 11 ways in how you can attract your, I call them soulmate clients, exactly what you just said, Lenka. It's really important to have, to feel aligned with somebody, their soul frequency. You're feeling called and you're feeling pulled in for a reason. So it's like really checking into that. And it's like, I don't know why, but I got to follow it. So my client attraction checklist will help you kind of like look at, are you doing these things in your business to help organically build your brand and build your visibility and attract your soulmate tribe, and call them in so that you can monetize on your calling. So that's my freebie.
Thank you. And you guys will find that link in your email. You'll also find it online when we post it. And you get to connect with Rosalyn as soon as today, because tomorrow we have another wonderful speaker coming and joining us. And we will see you then. Thank you so much, Rosalyn, for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me, love. I
We
can't wait to
appreciate it.
connect with you all.
Yes. And to you, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.